Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how consumerism might be dying or changing and how that might have caused people to strive for less and consume less. Now, I'm over the whole consumerism now. I used to spend when I had a job and I was making good money. I would go to conventions. I would actually live it up as much as I could. I would go to conventions, I would go to shows, I would go to thrift stores looking for treasures. I would buy a bunch of junk treasures, and I've had fun looking for things. But one thing I did realize was that through all of that, I was spending all my time looking for treasures, searching for greater things, almost like a urban Indiana Jones or something like that, searching for adventure, searching for treasures at thrift stores, in swamp meets, in all over the damn place. Always looking for a bargain. I would go to lots of estate sales, and I found so many treasures. But one thing I did notice is that I accumulated a lot of treasures, and I sold a lot of treasures too. The one thing I did notice was I could not keep the treasure. I would buy a treasure and I would sell it right away to flip it. But I never decorated my house with any of the treasures. All the treasures were in boxes and tucked away. My room was actually very minimal. So whatever treasures I found, I would store them away and would not even look at them or touch them. And that's what I started to notice was that I was just shopping a lot. Why was I shopping so much? Number one, because I lived in Los Angeles. There's nothing much to do here but consume and shop. Go to restaurants. Go to the beach. Um, and mainly was shopping and looking for treasures. Everybody did it. Everybody would spend their days going to thrift stores and stuff like that. And since I made good money, I would buy that stuff. So what I'm starting to see is that maybe a lot of people already went through that consumerism where they would go to store every weekend. They would go to the store every weekend, or they'll go to about 20 stores. I would go to I would go to a lot of thrift stores. I had a route in Los Angeles that went all the way from all over Los Angeles County. I must have hit like at least 30 thrift stores in a day and a few swap meets, some estate sales. So I would go through a lot of things and find lots of artwork. And also, I would go to the library a lot. And the library had bookstores, I mean book sales, and the books were cheap. And I loved art books, huge art books of famous artists, Picasso, Monet, Japanese artists. And since I was in Los Angeles, we have an abundance of old, valuable art books. I've been looking at some of the art books that I have, and they're worth thousands of dollars. And I would buy these books for $2 each or $2 a box. They really were selling books at this book sale for $2 a box, and I would get the most valuable art books that I can find. I bought a lot of manga, which I'm currently selling right now. I have thousands of manga, thousands of Japanese books and art books. Um, at the time, I really liked Japanese things, but I also liked art, um, prints, stuff like that. Anything to do with art. I love art. So I would consume all that junk. Never read, well, sometimes I would read some of the manga, but I was so busy shopping and looking for treasure, I had no time to actually enjoy the treasure that I found. So I would post the treasures and sell them right away, so I would never be able to um, enjoy them. This is why what I what I ended up doing was I took some of my treasures out of boxes and I started to decorate my room with it in my house. So now I'm surrounded with all these treasures. Um, One thing I do notice is that my taste was a little bit older. So um, antiques and vintage furniture makes your house look dated, makes it look like a granny lives in here. And there's also old smells that come with it. So I've bought basically everything you can possibly buy um, used. I found jewelry. I found diamond jewelry, gold jewelry, silver jewelry, pendants, brooches, um, all kinds of crazy stuff. I have pearls. Let me see if I can find you some pearls. All right, so I found these pearls a while back. Long time ago, they're estimated at around $20,000, and they're real pearls. They're not fake pearls, and they're huge strand of pearls. The pearls that are worth the most are the really big pearls. These are, forgot what they're called, baguette pearls or something like that. But these are actually real pearls. Those are estimated at around $20,000. Now, who's gonna pay that? I have no idea. Probably at most you probably get like $2,000 or $3,000 if you try to sell it. I've bought huge statues of jade and I've sold them for $20,000. So I would also buy cars. I would buy muscle cars, um, and old vintage cars that were from the 60s and 70s, and I would sell those. So I was very heavy into buying and selling treasures. So that whole consumerism is um, is a colossal waste of time. You will never have enough stuff. I think what we're starting to realize is that what we need to learn as a society is how to be content with the little that we have. Like, we really do not need all that junk. We do not need all the consumable junk that we consume. I have over 300 books um, in back of me that I found for free. Um, in LA County, Los Angeles County, people dump and donate so much junk. This dresser is from the 1930s, um, and it's solid wood. Well, it's solid wood, but it has veneer on the top of it. But even the wood on the middle is solid, and it's poplar wood, so it's not cheap wood. It's expensive wood. Back in the day, poplar probably was considered a cheap wood, but right now you go to Home Depot and poplar is very expensive. So I have old furnitures. That's an antique painting in the back from the 1800s. But what I'm starting to realize is that, you know what, we can never have enough stuff. And I don't need all this junk. I don't need all these books. I was thinking about reading all these books. I could barely finish this book that I'm reading right now called The Wealth of Nations. I've been reading, I'm probably at this much of the book right here. It's a little bit about capitalism. I heard that that was the book on capitalism, so I read it. It's pretty obvious, but it is outdated. It's old capitalism, and it's also perfect capitalism, like perfect scenario capitalism, which does not exist in the real world. There are so many different variations of capitalism that it's hard to put into those books. That what he was writing was the perfect capitalism, which does not exist here in the United States. Perfect capitalism does not exist. So it's theoretical, then. That's probably what it's called. Yeah, so we're consuming too much junk. And that's probably why people are quitting their job, regardless of them making $150,000 a year. They were realizing that, you know what, there's things more important than money and junk. There's health, your mental health, your bodily health, and owning things. So it's something to think about. I cannot cover it in one little sitting. I'm going to have to touch on this. This is part of the Great Resignation and also the I Don't Dream of Labor, because it touches on quitting jobs that are more than 100,000 a year.